Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne Life, and it is visions like these that make me happy. After the huge hailstorm that we had here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where we had about 3 to 4 inches of standing hail on the ground and 4 inches of water dropped within 2 hours, things have recovered quite nicely after that. Although I've had to replant so many of my vegetables out there in the garden, things like this kind of survived it, and this was my 2 hanging baskets that I had picked up from Walmart for $6.88, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. I think they're much prettier than some of the much larger baskets that I've seen, and there they are, just living their best life, blooming like crazy, and just enjoying the weather, I guess, because it's pretty warm now. We're getting upwards to almost the 90s. Supposed to be 90s in the next few days, and everything out there is loving it. I'm not going to go outside because I'm quite hot right now, and you can just take a look at all of my potatoes out there. And I had to replant the corn, so that's why you don't see any of the corn up right now. So I replaced the early sun glow corn with peaches and cream corn, and it had to reduce my rows down from 5 to 4 because it is a larger variety of corn. 7.5 to 8 inch ears versus having anywhere from 6 to 7 inch ears with the early sun glow. And the corn with the early sun glow is quite short. It's about 3 to 4 feet, and the peaches and cream is about 5 to 6 feet. So a little bit different there in the garden. We'll see how it does. But I had to replant my Tahitian squash out there as well, and they're already up, and you can't really see that here. But they have already came up and are flourishing, and the potatoes just kind of rebounded like crazy. It's looking like a potato forest out there already. And all of the other things in the garden, the tomatoes and things, are coming back and trying to replenish themselves of their leaves and things. I actually got out there and trimmed a little bit on the bottoms just to get some of those leaves that had been damaged off. So they are coming back out quite well. And all of my cantaloupes and watermelon are back up, and because I had to replant all those as well. And cucumbers are still working on coming up, but it is just looking beautiful. Anyway, and what I wanted to show you today is a little video containing some of my canning lids. I had heard a lot of people were having issues trying to find canning lids, and I had actually gotten these, some of them, from a Goodwill. We've got 2 Goodwills here in Cheyenne, and I had went back and forth, and they had put a bunch of canning jars and lids and rings and things like that in boxes with the canning jars and sold them as a package. I think they were like $5 each box. So I picked up those boxes. They had the ball in them, and I've used some of those, so some of them are gone because these were from last season. And as you can see, there was the $5 that they had written on the top of that box because it was enclosed in a larger cardboard box with a bunch of jars and stuff in it. All of them were usable jars, which was great. And I've got both wide mouth and regular standard lids and rings. So anyway, these here, the ball and the cur, were the ones that came in the Goodwill boxes, except for these 2 packages. These 2 packages I picked up, I want to say last year at Walmart maybe, and they are the cur lids. And I've not had any problems here in Cheyenne trying to find lids and rings. They have been available at places that you normally wouldn't think of, like Menards and Lowe's. Let's see, where else am I thinking? Tractor Supply. I did see some at Tractor Supply, and Murdoch's here. So I've been able to still get my jars and lids and rings there. And if I'm having any issues getting lids and rings, then what I just do is just buy one of the boxes of jars, because I can always use the jars. And they come with the lids and rings usually. So those boxes, and usually they have about 12 in the box if you're getting the pints, is, I want to say $8, maybe even less. And you can catch them on sale sometimes for $6 or $7. So I've been getting those. And I wanted to show these that I had picked up at Walmart recently. I had not seen any of the ball and cur in there right now. I did go back later and saw some ball, and I saw a couple occur, but they were for smaller jars. But anyway, I found these at Walmart. They are kind of a, I guess, an off-brand called Golden Harvest. But I have looked at the lids and the rings, and they look great. I don't see anything wrong with them. They look exactly the same as the ball and cur. I have used them in the past. I picked them up when I was in Jonesboro, used them there, and never had any issues with them, so I'm going to use them this time. But anyway, you can see that sometimes they will say regular, or if you just turn the box around, they'll say standard, because that just means they fit regular jars, regular styles of jars, tops. And then we have the wide mouth over here because I have a lot of wide mouth jars as well. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me if they're wide mouth or regular mouth. I use both. Have never had any issue because I have funnels. So I use that. Anyway, that is the lids and the rings and where you could possibly find those at if you've been having any trouble. Look in places that you wouldn't normally look in, like Lowe's and Home Depot and Menards or Murdoch's or whatever hardware stores that you have around you. A lot of the little hardware stores will have lids and rings and things like that as well. But when I picked a couple of these up from Goodwill, they usually charge like 50 cents, as you can see on the top, for the lids and the rings. And there wasn't any of these used. They were just like opened, I guess, to have a look at them, and I've inspected them. They look fine. And I will reuse, to reiterate something that another Homestead channel had talked about. I think it was Acre Homestead. She says she will reuse lids if she inspects them and they don't have any issues. And that would mean also checking to make sure that they depress easily and bounce back. So just always make sure you're checking the middle of those lids to make sure that they bounce back like they're supposed to, because that means that they will seal well. And just don't use them in a pressure canner. If you're reusing a lid, make sure you're using a water bath. And I've never honestly pressure canned to can something. I've always used a water bath and I've never had any issues. I do chicken broth. I even have canned meat before using a water bath and have never had any issues. So that is all of my canning advice that I could give you. Of course, I'm not an expert at canning. I just do home canning. So disclaimer there that I'm not an expert at it. So if you have any questions, make sure you're checking with Ball or Cur or even Golden Harvest if they have a number to call. I haven't looked myself, and ask your questions there. Also, I wanted to show you a little bit of a harvest that I had out of the garden today. Surprising, I finally got some sort of a harvest, and that's just of my parsley and some of my herbs. I got some parsley out of the garden. I've got cilantro that is coming up. And I got some chives. And with the chives, what I do with the chives, because it is so low humidity here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, is I can just mince these up in little bitty pieces. I just put them in a plastic bowl or a tin or something like that, or a pie tin, and just leave them to dry. I will put them in the refrigerator first for overnight and then get them out and sit them out, and then every single day that I walk by them I just stir them up so the ones on the bottom come to the top and they just dry perfectly. They look exactly like the freeze-dried chives that you would get in a bottle, and I have some of those, but I don't use them anymore because I use all of my natural grown chives. So that is how you do that. And I know this is a kind of a short video in versus what I normally do, but that's about all I have right now at the moment is just the parsley, the chives. I want to let you know a little bit about the lids and the rings. So I hope everyone's having a great day out there wherever you are, and you're having fun gardening. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and we shall see you in the next one.